Hi. Bogota. Capital and the largest city of Colombia, administrative center of Department of Cundinamarca. Forms an independent administrative unit of the country, the capital district divided into 20 areas. The population minus 7.4 million people. 2011. As 16% of the population of the country. One of the largest cities of South America. With an agglomeration 8.7 million people. 2011. Live. It is located in an intermountain hollow east the Cordilleras at the height over 2600 my. Climate of the city cool. It is subject to earthquakes. Main political, economic and cultural center of Colombia. Concentrates. DDD of the country. 2011. On degree of globality of the cities in 2010 and 2012 I took the 4th place on the continent. It is founded in 1538 by the Spanish conquistadors in the center of a civilization of Indians of a chip. Since 1598, the capital of the Spanish General Captaincy, since 1819 the capital of independent Colombia. In 1948 during the armed revolt of Bogota the downtown was destroyed and burned. Historical building is insignificant. The city is founded by Spaniards on August 6, 1538, in day of a Christian holiday of Lord's Transformation, in the area which Indians of a chip called Bacat. From here the initial name of the city, Santa Fe de Bogota, where Santa Fe, Holy Transfiguration of our Lord Jesus Christ. Literally, sacred belief. And Bogota, the distorted autochthonic name of the area. In the broad use only the last part of the name, Bogota, is used. On April 6, 1536 the governor and Pedro Hernández de Lugo sent to the province Santa Marta the deputy, the conquistador Jiménez de Quesada, with group to 500 people, partially on 5 brigs upstream of the Magdalena River, partially the land along the river. Jiménez de Quesada went on a tradeway on which Indians transported the salt, serving as a means of exchanging from the Caribbean coast deep into of the continent. Reached the fertile Cundinamarca plateau 9 months later. In a campaign 2 brigs, 1 with people were lost. The valley where there was Bogota, the first the captains Antonio de Lebrija and Juan de Cespedes sent for investigation with 25 people found. Then because of skirmishes with Indian tribes and diseases in group there were 170 people, however they couldn't conquer the tribe of Achib occupying this area. Having taken Spaniards for gods, Indians gave up without special resistance. In the Spanish documents it is for the first time told about the name of the city and its Indian constructions in the report of royal officials of Juan de Street Martin and Antonio de Lebrija who took personal part in Jiménez de Quesada's campaign. July 1539. When they arrived in these salt settlements, here the earth showed to a look that in it there was also what was farther, because she was very corpulent and with many Indians, an appearance of the built houses, different from what we met before. Especially as at distance of 1 day transition further from that settlement of salt, we entered the earth of the most important governor in her being available, called Bogota. And too that there was a good certificate as we found it in the house of his dwelling which, being constructed of straw, could be considered as one of the best what only saw in Indiac. Juan de Street Martin and Antonio de Lebrija. Report on gaining the new kingdom Granada and foundation of the city of Bogota. July 1539. Bogota was founded by the Spanish colonialists in 1538 in the area which was the center of an ancient civilization of Indians of a chip. Bogota was at the place of Indian fortress of Bacat and became the capital. Nova Granada gave such name Casada to the one territory. Since 1598 Bogota was the capital of the Spanish General Captaincy, and since 1739 the Vice-Kingdom New Granada. The defender of the city in 1573 the Archbishop of Bogota Luis Zapata de Cardenas announced Saint Isabella in view of the fact that he carried the head as a sacred relic. Isabella of the Hungarian Queen presented in Madrid by the Queen Austrian Anna, the last wife of Philip II, with himself, but in 1573 placed her in a silver chest in the main church of the city, and day of honoring of this saint was determined for November 19. The Napoleonic Wars in Europe caused rise of national liberation fight in Latin America. After in 1808 Napoleon intruded in Spain and instead of the deposed King Ferdinand VII enthroned the brother Joseph Bonaparte, Creoles of Bogota announced their fidelity to Ferdinand VII, and on July 20, 1810 the Creole talk proclaimed self-government by Nova Granada before restoration of the power of the lawful king. The power in the country passed to the Supreme Junta. In honor of these events on July 20 in Colombia the Independence Day is celebrated. After Bogota independence was declared by other cities. Having returned to the power in 1814, Ferdinand made an attempt to regain former absolute control of Nova Granada that caused new rise of liberation movement. Only thanks to introduction to colony of many thousand Spanish army it was succeeded to restore and again to approve the Spanish domination. Bogota was freed from Spaniards by Simon Bolivar's army only in 1819. Then independence was declared, and Bogota became the capital of the Federal Republic of Colombia, or Great Colombia. In 1831, after separation of Venezuela and Ecuador, again the capital Nova Granada, since 1863, the United States of Colombia, and since 1886, Colombia. At the end of the 19th century Bogota turned into the center of revolutionary movement of the country. During the 9th Inter-American Conference passing in the capital in the spring of 1948 murder of the progressive Colombian figure Jorge Gaitán was perfect. His ideas about ways of transformation of the Colombian society enjoyed wide popularity among the poorest segments of the population. Therefore Gaitán's murder led to a turmoil in the capital. In Bogota the armed revolt directed against conservatives which extended to other regions of the country began. Disorders were suppressed by troops with assistance of tank parts. As a result of the fights developed on streets of Bogota about 2,000 people died. The central part of the capital underwent destruction. Many buildings were burned. On restoration of former image of the city many years left. In the second half of the 20th century Bogota was the center of the numerous internal political conflicts. The square of the city minus 1775 came. Bogota is located in a hollow on the western slope east the Cordilleras, at the height of 2610 m above sea level. This city was built on the bank of the rivulet of Rio San Francisco. Today the river flows on pipes and it is impossible to see her. Though the capital of Colombia is practically on the equator, because of big height above sea level they're not hot all year. All months almost identical. In the afternoon air temperature is 17-21 C, at night -9-12 C. It approximately corresponds to May in Moscow. Owing to the geographical location, the city is subject to earthquakes. It is possible to call climate of Bogota in the eternal spring, with a temperature of 18-19 C and constant rains and thunderstorms. Sometimes in Bogota frosts are possible, and is more rare, snowfalls. For example, in November 2007 in Bogota snow dropped at. The capital of Colombia is located in a subtropical belt of which transition from mountain subtropical forests to the mountain moderate woods is characteristic. In the neighborhood of the city monkeys, pumas, jaguars, bakers, tapirs, battleships, porcupines, idolas, opossums, many species of snakes and lizards are found. Crocodiles and turtles live in the rivers. The climate of Bogota is similar to climate of islands of a subtropical belt, such as Tristan da Cunha, where because of influence of the ocean temperature is almost identical for all year, and also with climate of San Francisco where the soft climate is formed by oceanic currents. However, in a case with Bogota, not the ocean, but geographic location of the city is the reason of the minimum temperature differences on or on the equator. Seven million people live in Bogota and its suburbs, that makes the sixth part from all population of Colombia. The city is cosmopolitan. Except Colombians, the large number of the foreign citizens and people who took out the Colombian citizenship lives in the capital. As a part of the population of the Colombian capital metizes, that is descendants from mixed marriages between white and Indians prevail. An insignificant part from the total number of inhabitants is made by descendants of Europeans, thoroughbred Indians, blacks, mulattoes and Sambo, descendants from mixed marriages between blacks and Indians. Thus, about 3/4 of the population of the capital have the mixed blood. In 1960, the decree about protection of language, according to which at execution of official documents it is forbidden to use the non-Spanish words. However, this decree, because of the illogicality, was adopted. I never worked. Most of the believing residents of Bogota belong to the Roman Catholic Church. In the city exist several Protestant churches conducting active work on attraction in the ranks of new dicks. It is known that in recent years representatives of Protestantism repeatedly had conflicts with Catholic clergy. In a northern part of the city for 2013, construction of the big mosque continues. There are several Christian churches and synagogues. Crime rate of Bogota against the background of other cities of Colombia rather low. In 2007 it was 19 murders on card people. Bogota is the largest economic center of Colombia, along with Medellin, Cali and Barranquilla, and one of the most important economic centers of South America. The general DDD of the capital is $86 billion, that makes a quarter of DDD of all Colombia. Per capita, dollars on average are necessary, and on this indicator Bogota is in the 6th place among the cities of South America. The headquarters of most the Colombian companies is in Bogota. Also, Bogota is the most important industrial and financial center of Colombia, the headquarters of most private banks of Colombia, Bank of the Republic, etc. are located here. By the Index of Globality, Bogota in 2010-2012 conceded to other cities of South America. To Buenos Aires, of Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro, but I was ahead Caracas. Main type of public transport, a metrobeds of Transmilenio network, with separately allocated strips. The international airport El Dorado is located in 15 km to the west from the downtown. Place of basing of planes of the Colombian airline Avianca. Culture. In Bogota, the main museums of Colombia are concentrated. In total there are 9. The Archaeological Museum, Museum of Art and National Traditions, the Museum of Gold, the Museum of City Development, the Museum of Art of the Colonial Period, the Museum of Religious Art, the National Museum of Colombia, the Museum of Modern Art, Mint, the Numismatical Collection of Bank of the Republic, Simon Bowley's House Museum. Vara. The Museum of Gold contains the world's largest collection of the objects of a Dokolombovsky era made of gold in Bogota. Besides, there is a museum presented to the city by the famous Colombian artist and the sculptor Fernando Botero, where the collection of the pictures and sculptures belonging to the artist and also his personal collection of paintings of the European artists, representatives of Impressionism, Cubism and other directions of painting. Botero's museum is stored. Bogota differed in rich cultural life. Here the second in South America library was open. There is the Colombian Academy, the National University of Colombia. It is open in 1867. Another higher educational institutions. In 1910 the National Conservatory, and in 1936, National Symphonic Orchestra was founded. In 1791 in Bogota the Colombia's first weekly newspaper began to appear. In 20 years in the capital 4 newspapers were issued already. It was followed by rapid development of the press throughout all the 19th century. In 1954 the National Organization of Radio and Television was created. The National News Agency, Colprensa, works. There is a large number of theaters and art galleries. The Ibero-American Festival of Theater, which is taking place in Bogota each 2 years in April, is considered the world's largest theater festival today. In the city there is a botanical garden in which the set of species of exotic plants is presented. An annual and most important sports show of the capital are the bullfights, which are bringing together from 100 to 150,000 viewers. Annually in the city there passes the Bogotinsky semi-marathon. Football clubs of Millonarios and Santa Fe are based. Architecture. The historic center of Bogota represents network of the mountains of narrow streets stretched lengthways. In the city the set of architectural monuments of the 17th, 19th centuries remained. On the main square Plaza Bolivar towers cathedral, which construction was conducted in 1572-1610. At the beginning of the 19th century it was reconstructed in style of classicism. In the 16th, 17th centuries in architecture and art of Colombia forms of the late Middle Ages and Renaissance prevailed. Except decorative style mannerism and Baroque with unusual forms, abundance inherent in them of the bent lines and sophisticated decorative registration were widely adopted. These lines found the brightest embodiment in the building of Church of San Ignacio, which construction was begun in 1577. Internal furniture of church strikes with richness of different jewelry. In the middle of the 17th century, to replace magnificent mannerism and Baroque classicism came. The Congress building in Bogota was built in classical Greek style. Besides time, also the Palace of Justice belongs. In the 19th-20th centuries, in the capital of Colombia, such large objects, business and industrial buildings, how the national capital. 1847-1926. Takendama Hotel. 1950-1953. Clark Factory. 1953. Were built, new areas with wide streets, Antonio Nariño, are built up in Christian. 1967. At Plaza Bolivar Square in 1842, the monument to Simon Bolívar was erected. To Évar, the first president of independent Colombia. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.